All right. So it's Saturday night, folks. So of course I'm gonna be doing what I normally do, throwing on some YouTube and let's see what the fuck goes on. Right now I've got queued up a SCP animation that I want to check out, and then I got a couple Nexpo videos like normal. Then after those are done, they're not long. I think the two are, well, let's do three. The three I want to do is only going to take like an hour and 15 minutes, and this first one's like 20. So either it's going to be a quick stream, or I might find something else to do. I don't know. But let's go ahead and stop the music. Throw this up. There you are. So, can 96 chase its victims across the multiverse? Yes.
Just wish we could travel the multiverse, pay a visit to another world, and see all the ways in which it differs from this dimension that we call home. Maybe there's a decision that you made that altered the course of your entire life. What college you went to, asking somebody out, accepting a job over pursuing a passion. The question of what if might have kept you wondering what your life could have looked like.
It's not worth doing.
The other path. Surely it would save you all that wondering and be so much
Everyone
easier
likes to imagine
just
it.
to go and find out.
What ifs are
Imagine
bullshit.
if you could simply pick a universe where you chose differently, then take a quick jaunt over there to see how things turned out for your other self. But what if you couldn't choose? Never mind whatever that decision was. What if you couldn't pick where in the infinite multiverse you ended up? If traveling from world to world was as random, unpredictable, and instinctive as a sneeze, what then? One moment you're safe at home, surrounded by everything you know. It might not be perfect, but at least it's familiar. The next thing you know, with the blink of your eyes, you're standing in a world that maybe looks similar, but giant bees are the dominant species instead of humans. Or the world is overrun by spiders, or everyone is made out of paint. Needless to say, you'd be at least
bugs
a
would
little
own the earth if it
disoriented.
wasn't,
At worst,
if they had
absolutely
any form of
terrified
sentience.
for your life. That pretty much sums up
Right,
the
true
experience
sentience.
of SCP-507, also known as the Reluctant Dimension Hopper. From the outside, he looks to be a mostly normal human man, with blonde hair, green eyes, nothing all that remarkable about him of note, save for him
Green
having a
eyes is
somewhat
good.
unplaceable accent. Despite having a legal name, SCP-507 will try to squeeze what little enjoyment he can out of introducing himself by a different nickname to everyone he meets. Previous favorites have included Tommy, Steve, Bruto, Guy, Houdini, and
We don't talk
Radnoff
about Bruto.
the Destroyer. We'll stick with Tommy. The sole most intriguing thing about Tommy is that through a process that happens completely without his control, he can spontaneously disappear, only to reappear after an unspecified amount of time later. During that time, SCP-507 will have been in a completely different universe to our own. This can happen
And he
at any
survives?
time of day or night, and usually at the most inconvenient moments, including while Tommy is in the middle of a conversation, trying to sleep, or using the, facilities. He has no control over when it happens. However, he'll always arrive in an alternate universe in the same geographical spot he was in while in ours. If he moves around in a parallel world, then when he returns, he will have relocated to the corresponding place back in this universe. And that's when disaster struck. Alarms were blaring, declaring to all staff on site that there had been a containment breach in one of the anomaly's holding cells. All hands were on deck, and security teams were converging.
So he
and dashing
materialized
through
in
the
a cell.
corridors. This was the second alert today. At first, SCP-507 had vanished on one of his unplanned little excursions, but now it seemed that another SCP was trying to do the same. Dazed, trying to reorient himself, Tommy rested against a nearby wall. His head was spinning, and he knew it would for a few more seconds. He was in a cell similar to the one he'd just been in while in another universe, except here, back home, there was a key difference. The cell was occupied. As soon as his vision cleared, Tommy looked up at the only other creature in the room with him.
Oh, you're
It was
fine.
a tall, wiry humanoid shape, completely hairless with pale skin, white eyes, and a large gaping jaw. Turning to face him, Tommy instantly recognized the creature from a description he'd been read by a Foundation researcher. It was SCP-096. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Realizing its face was being observed, the Shy Guy started screeching, first an uncontrollable wail of distress that quickly gave way to a guttural, animalistic roar of anger. It covered its face, babbling to itself as Tommy backed away, banging his head against the sealed wall of 096's cell. Then, the creature turned towards him and lunged, racing across the room to where SCP-507 was trapped. All he could do was close his eyes.
That thing will come
tight
at you,
and think
even
about
if you see a
running away.
pixel of it.
Tommy could feel a headache brewing in
So,
his
yeah, he's
skull
dead.
and caught traces of a familiar flash through his closed eyelids. He gently opened them back up. It had happened again, maybe for the first time ever at a moment when he actually needed to get away. Staggering to his feet, Tommy looked around. He was in the cell still, or rather, another version of it in a different universe yet again. Knowing that he wouldn't be able to predict when he would next displace, he didn't want to reappear right back where he had started, with SCP-096 poised to kill him. So relocating was top priority. Fortunately, the cell actually had a door in this universe, and that door wasn't locked. In fact, none of the doors were locked or even guarded, and the Foundation facility, while looking more or less the same, was completely abandoned. It almost looked like it had never even been used. Stepping out of the entrance, Tommy trekked his way towards the city. He knew it was a short hike away, and by the time he could feel blisters forming on his feet, he was close enough that it didn't matter. With another few short steps, he was standing among the tall buildings and surprisingly empty streets. One of the first things that struck Tommy about this universe was that there were hardly any people around outside. On top of that, the roads were devoid of cars. Everything
Hardly or
around
none,
was
that
so
is two
quiet.
different things.
The air was still and clean when he breathed it in. The sound of footsteps against the pavement immediately caught Tommy's attention, the first sign of anyone else around other than him. Racing towards the noise of another person, Tommy turned a corner and bumped straight into an old man in a long coat, who had clearly been in a hurry, and quickly revealed he didn't have the best temperament either. "Watch where you're going," he shouted, caught off guard by the sight of another person put on the streets. "What the hell are you playing at, sneaking up on me like that? You're trying to get yourself killed out here?" Oh, definitely not," Tommy said, climbing back to his feet, hands held out apologetically. "I'm so sorry, mister. I was just... You got a death wish or something, kid?" the old man demanded, marching past him. "No," SCP-507 protested, chasing after the man. Wait, what makes you say that?" "As if you don't know," he scoffed. "Look around you. Look up at the sky. There's a storm about to hit any second now. It's a-coming. And if you don't get inside, you're a goner." "What could be so dangerous about a thunderstorm?" Tommy asked. The old man stared back at him with a look of confusion on his wizened face, looking at Tommy like he had just said something utterly bizarre. "What the hell's a thunderstorm?"
What?
the man asked. Feeling equally confused, Tommy craned his neck up towards the sky. Looming above were swirling masses of clouds, the kind anyone would expect to be accompanied by severe winds and the deafening boom of thunder. But the wind was still, and there was nothing but silence, until a choking, gurgling sound came from somewhere behind Tommy's back. He spun around to see the tall, wiry frame of SCP-096, its long fingers gripping tightly around the old man's throat. It had followed Tommy, and he knew that anyone who saw its face, even in a picture, would find themselves chased down on foot by the creature. But he had no idea the Shy Guy could travel between dimensions. He'd foolishly allowed himself to think he was safe, out of the monster's reach. But now it seemed to be showing him that the opposite.
I mean,
was
theoretically, you can
true.
track
It
you
hoisted
anywhere,
the
so I
helpless old
guess
man
this is the
upwards
thing
by
if
his
you
neck,
really want to go
his
with
shoes barely able to graze the pavement as his legs flailed, eyes
a
rolling
different
back
form
as
of
the
the
Shy Guy
lore.
clamped his throat shut. The very second Tommy turned to run, the clouds churned above, and without so much as a warning, the storm hit. Something wasn't right. Tommy could feel his feet lifting off the ground, immediately panicking as he thought SCP-096 had grabbed him. But looking over his shoulder showed the creature was still a few feet behind and starting to gently float up off the ground too. Instinctively,
Even it's
Tommy's
like, what the
legs started
fuck?
thrashing around, trying to gain a solid footing. Instead, all his urgent motions did was cause him to start spinning uncontrollably, as the gravity storm lifted him higher and higher up into the air. Spinning him around as he was taken further upwards, Tommy caught sight of SCP-096. The Shy Guy was staying still, as if it was still in control of its body's motion while he was wildly flipping over himself. The tall, pale creature drifted closer to the side of a nearby building, with Tommy being barely able to reach the top of the streetlights as he was pulled further away from the safety of having both his feet on the ground. Just as he saw SCP-096 push itself off the edge of the building, drifting straight through the air towards him, Tommy shut his eyes again and prayed he displace again. Sure enough, a flash of light came bursting out in time with another headache. Suddenly, he had appeared in the exact same spot in another universe. However, here there was no gravity storm in progress here. In fact, no such phenomenon existed. The laws of physics were much more in keeping with those in Tommy's home, our universe. Of course, that would be more reassuring if he wasn't
floating
several feet up in the air. The second he arrived, Tommy started plummeting back down to Earth, screaming as he felt himself falling, keeping his eyes screwed shut as he dared not look at the ground he was currently hurtling towards. His plummet was broken by something not particularly soft. Whatever it was seemed to tower high enough that Tommy only picked up a few bruises as he hit it, but the fall didn't stop instantly. Instead, he kept on toppling through whatever he had landed on. It was some kind of mass, piled up almost as tall as a building, a collection of lots of things that were all brushing past Tommy the more he fell. He hadn't yet stopped for long enough to recognize the sensations, that is, until he landed with a painful thud. Slowly opening his eyes back up, Tommy could barely see anything in front of him. He was so deep in the mass that the pile was blocking out the sunlight, with only a few beams bleeding through the gaps, but barely enough to give him a clear view of where he was. Tommy tried to crawl forward, squeezed between the heavy things around him, pushing through whatever tiny little crevice he could find. As he did, the weight of the
I had
pile
no idea
shifted
why
around
he
him,
would be in
and he
it.
was worried that any moment he would move the wrong part of it, bringing the whole structure collapsing down on top of him like a toppled Jenga tower, only big enough to crush him to death. He forced himself not to think about exactly what the pile was made of either. It was already long past the point where Tommy recognized what each thing felt like. Plus, there was the added stench, something or lots of somethings, rotting and producing a stomach-turning
So like a
odor as
corpse
it
pile?
decayed. Even when you're not trying to look, it can be hard to mistake the feeling of a hand, an arm, cold skin against his. The light from beyond the pyramid was getting closer, as he could see was starting to eliminate more of his surroundings the closer he crawled to the perimeter. Sure, he could have very easily used the torch the Foundation let him keep with him, but Tommy wasn't quite ready to see what he was crawling through yet, intentionally shutting his eyes and opting instead to follow the faint glow and distant warmth of the sun. Breaching the outer side of the pile, Tommy gulped down lungfuls of air. It barely tasted or smelled that much cleaner than the air within the mass, but at least he was free. Clawing himself out and along the ground, he finally, carefully stood up, still keeping both eyes screwed shut. Part of him really didn't want to take a look around at this new dimension. Maybe if he waited long enough, he would displace again and end up somewhere with less decomposing. But then he remembered SCP-096 was still after him, and he had no idea how to escape it. He needed to try and figure out what he was going to do, and the only way to do that...
The fact that they
was
can
to look
dimension
around
hop is
at where he
ridiculous.
was. Lifting his eyelids, the different-sized masses of all shades, shapes, and sizes lay before him. Each one was coated in one unifying color, all of them slick with the crimson of blood against skin. Tommy could feel the urge to throw up quickly, shooting up from the pit of his stomach towards his throat as he looked at the massive pile of bodies in front of him. It was enormous. There were so many dead people, all laying on top of one another, that the pile reached up as tall as office buildings. And the pile that he had fallen into and crawled his way out of wasn't the only one either. As far as the eye could see, everyone was dead. Feeling a heavy sob at the back of his throat, Tommy swallowed it when he heard another sound above the low buzzing of flies over the human carcasses. Someone, something else was crying nearby. And the moment he turned around, the familiar figure caught Tommy's eye. Even without being the only other living thing around for miles, the shy guy still stood out clear as day. Its distress at finding itself in this horrible dimension briefly mirrored Tommy's own, until it re-established its psychic link with its victim and gave chase once more. SCP-096 started dashing towards SCP-507. For a split second, he thought about just letting it catch him. What difference would it make in a place like this? But then the hallucinations of bright colors and a stinging deep within his skull hit Tommy, and just like that, he was gone again. It was nighttime in the next dimension Tommy arrived in. The cold air and dim light of the street were enough to give that away, but at least he was away from that last world filled with discarded and unburied piles of corpses, he thought to himself. Surely he couldn't possibly be anywhere worse than that now.
Oh,
The first sight
bullshit.
that
This is
Tommy was met
SCP
with
world.
was a huge white LCD screen, big enough to cover the entire side of one of the skyscrapers facing him. Emblazoned against the bright white glow was a familiar symbol, a circle with 3 arrows crossing its outline and pointing towards its center. Around that was a thin frame, another circle, this one with 3 protruding rectangles around the circumference, in line with the arrow tails. Thick lettered text appeared on the screen too, beneath the emblem, boldly proclaiming that anyone reading it should submit, comply, persevere. Tommy
Oh.
blinked in disbelief, looking around. There was hardly
So
anyone
this
else
is like
around,
the
save
evil,
for a few people
quote
staring at
unquote,
him.
evil
Had they
world
seen
of the
him appear,
SCP.
or was it just because he was dressed so differently to them? Each of them had on a grimy pair of overalls, sporting more of that
Where
same
instead of
symbol
like
on the
trying to
chest
protect
and
the world
across
from
the back.
anomalies, this is
Every
purely the
wall
one
of every
that like
nearby building was
literally
overfilled with
takes over
posters
the world.
featuring matching imagery, each one posing different questions in the same
Could you be
way,
anomalous?
forgiving
Submit
accusatory
for testing
text
today.
against its clinical white background. One poster read, "Could you be anomalous? Submit for testing today." Another had the following notice: curfew still in effect, 10 a.m. to 8 a.m. the following morning.
8 p.m.
All citizens must comply. And one more touting that only through persevering will we continue to thrive. Each of them was signed with the same name and logo to match, the organization that Tommy had come to put some amount of trust in, even though they weren't always clear with him. But he knew they weren't the bad guys, or at least the version that existed in his universe didn't seem to be that bad. They had questionable methods, but they weren't evil. Weren't this. "By order of the SCP Foundation," a loud militaristic voice barked from behind Tommy. "Get down on your knees with your hands behind your head. You will surrender any anomalous technology and declare any mimetic effects or cognito-hazardous abilities before we approach you." Tommy looked over his shoulder, met with the barrels of several automatic weapons that were now being trained on him. Instantly, he threw his hands in the air, terrified that this alternate SCP Foundation might be far more trigger-happy than the version of them he was used to. From the look at the oppressive text on the huge screen, the propaganda posters, and the matching uniforms ordinary people seemed forced to wear, this Foundation seemed to be far more ruthless. They had transformed
Yeah.
from a secretive organization into a full-blown authoritarian regime, maybe even in control of the entire world, ruling with an iron fist. "On your knees!" The commander.
I think there was one of the
shouted.
07 that actually
The
was
aggression in his voice,
wanting to do
as well as
this.
the several laser pointers from his men's guns that were
'Cause it was
hovering
just
over
like,
his
you
chest,
know,
prompted Tommy to do
If we
as he
let
was
the
told.
world know
"Do you have anything to declare before we
anomalies,
approach?"
then,
TF leader
you know,
ordered.
they'll freak out. So
No,
we
Tommy
just,
stammered before realizing that
we
was
just take
probably
control.
an inadvisable answer. I mean, yes, I'm SCP-507, but that number might refer to someone different here. Look, what I'm saying is this isn't my dimension, okay? I have a condition that sends me to different universes at random. I can't control it. It just happens. Please, for the love of God, don't shoot. "Better radio into command," the team leader told one of his subordinates. "Tell them to run that number against the archives. Then inform Lord Adjudicator Clef that we may have a containment breach." Overhearing what they were saying instantly reminded Tommy that he was still being chased. "Wait," he called to the elite operatives. "There's something else you need to know." "What's that, 507? The commander sighed, lacking the patience for this. "There's another anomaly after me," Tommy explained hurriedly. "I don't know how long it'll take to get here, just that when it does, it'll kill everyone to get at me." "I've heard enough. Troopers, take him away," the commander grunted. Two of the MTF team rushed up to Tommy and grappled either of his arms, not letting go despite his protests. They started dragging him towards their armored vehicle, looking like Tommy was about to spend the foreseeable future in the clutches of one of the worst versions of the Foundation. That is, until a tall, pale creature stepped out from behind the transport. The MTFs were instantly frenzied, and yells of another anomalous contact were quickly drowned out by the noise of gunfire. All the while, the shy guy was casually moving between the amassed troops, gripping their heads, twisting them all the way around, until a sickening crunch rang out. Dropped back to the ground, SCP-507 started to feel another headache coming on, knowing that any second, he'd displace again and end up in another alternate universe. And for the first time today, he was okay with that. It was better for their chase to go on if it meant that him and the shy guy didn't have to spend another minute in this universe. Now, if you want to see another one of the Foundation's most infamous anomalies going toe-to-toe with another unlikely adversary from across the multiverse, then go and check out Deadpool vs. SCP-682. Or, ever wanted to know what would happen if a deadly, malicious mask was combined with one of the most powerful reality benders ever encountered? Then watch What If SCP-343 or SCP-035 to find out.
Oh shit, I'll have those on the list. Okay. So, on to the next bow. Hi, I'm Mary Mary. I have actually no idea what this is. The icon it used, or the thumbnail he used, just caught my attention with it. Something, I'm guessing, if it has to be anything, it's something about a girl. Mary Mary. So I'm wondering if it's like a Bloody Mary thing or what. So, let's go. Okay, so when he was doing this, it was still ongoing. I don't think he had a second one of these videos. That's the thing. He does a few times, but I don't think Nexpo does a lot of like follow-up ones unless there's like a substantial amount to follow up.
Back in October, I included a channel by the name of Hi, I'm Mary Mary in my Halloween special. Back at that point in time, the series was still getting itself off the ground, and so I left you with an open-ended take in order to drive some traffic over there, since it's been so well done. The series has very much evolved since then, and a lot has played out, leaving me with some theories that I'd like to share with you regarding what this actually is. Tonight, we're going to touch on the major questions surrounding this channel. What exactly is happening in each video? Who is each character? And what is the significance of all of this?
It's kind of like one of them dancing, the other one working on a laptop.
Because it's time to dive into Hi, I'm Mary Mary. For ease of clarity, I'd like to give a preliminary introduction to the major characters and locations that we'll be referencing back to. Throughout this video, aside from Mary, we'll be referencing characters that are titled Shadow Mary, the Shadow Man, the Darkness, Maria, and the Woman in White. Major locations that I'll be referencing are the house and the garden. The first 4 videos that we'll be touching on will focus on character introduction and world building, so be on the lookout for all of these.
Walking out in the woods is always fun. Hello.
The first video in the series is titled Hello. In this, we're basically set up with the story that Mary is living alone in what she dubs is a copy of her parents' house. She claims that she's unable to leave and has no capability of interaction with the outside world. She's, strangely, alone on the internet and fully believes that she's presenting these videos to nobody at all. She's quite bored and drums up various mundane activities to keep herself occupied. Before the video's conclusion, though, things begin to take a dark turn when she claims that things are different at night.
I mean, if you have internet, I mean, might as well use it even if you don't think it's going to go out to anybody. Mic move. What the fuck? I don't think I'm alone in here. Yeah, if you got internet access, might as well do it. You don't know who you'll get in contact with.
That ending is when we're introduced to our first major antagonist, Shadow Mary. We'll be seeing her quite often throughout this series.
what?
The second video is titled Dislikeness, and the description reads, "What is so funny? Is it my face?" In this, Mary informs us that the house strangely restocks itself with food so she won't go hungry. Also,
Well, that's
she won't
convenient.
smell, and the lights only work at night. Sometimes. Midway through the video, we're introduced to our second major
I won't smell,
antagonist.
so I'm guessing there's running water.
Maria.
Must be the idea.
Maria seems to
So they
endlessly
have
laugh
hygiene.
at Mary, taunting her in the mirror with a sort of perfect mask that she will wear throughout the entirety of this series. It's evident that it gets to Mary, since right after we see Maria, Mary resorts to cutting the head off of one of her photos. Maria also seems to be plaguing Mary's mind, and this is shown when she's trying desperately to sleep but is unable to do so due to the endless laughter that fills her ears. The video then closes with the phrase, "I want to break all of the mirrors."
She's so much prettier than me. Is this about mental illness? Oh, I see you over there. No, but that alone, that makes me think this is about mental
In Good
illness.
Night, we follow Mary through some mundane activities as she tries to desperately keep herself occupied. It's evident that the house is beginning to get to her, since she claims that she's exhausted. The description of this video reads, "Paralyzed with fear, I looked into its face and I felt empty, cold, and numb. I felt dead. I'm so tired. There's no sense in being positive." We'll touch on what she means by this in a second. For now, I want to
Yeah,
show
this
you
really
scene
feels
where
like
Mary
it's
seems
about
to be
Mental illness.
crafting. It seems that she's making a collage of multiple people that also bear her name, but not herself. This will tie into a major theory that we'll dive into later. At the end, Mary appears to be attempting to rest, however, is interrupted by our first encounter with the Shadow Man.
Are you sure that's a man? That body's rather feminine, it seems. Which is all good. I'm assuming that she must have did most of this herself.
He seems to be someone that looms over Mary, but strangely doesn't lunge into and harm her. We'll be seeing him quite a bit throughout this as well.
There we go.
In this one, we're greeted with Mary hypothesizing that the lights
Yeah, I
are
don't know why
on
my
at night.
voice mod does that.
She's seen traversing
But no,
around the
this
house
feels
in
like
order
it's
to make
about,
sure that every light is on. When she gets to the
depression.
last room though, she's greeted by the Shadow Man who freaks her out. Right after this though, she claims that the light actually does not help at night and that the haunts in her house will carry out their torment no matter what. The end of this video gets quite
Because,
interesting
like,
as well. Things begin to move on their own and Mary begins to freak out.
Maria or whatever, the pretty one.
No, not again.
I mean, she's remarking about how she's prettier than her. That's just what it seems. So maybe this is more about just her dealing with like depression and mental illness versus, you know, being haunted. Which if so, kudos. And like being trapped inside the house and everything. You know, agoraphobia, afraid to leave. Don't want to go outside.
This is our first introduction to the darkness. It seems, at the end, to overtake her completely before she blacks out, ending the video.
Yeah, it's making it seem like maybe it's like she's got agoraphobia, depression, scared to leave the house, scared of people. Body issues.
And worse, we join Mary as she explores her house in total darkness. She claims that everything just got so much worse, and the reason for this will be touched on momentarily.
And
Mary
everything
then
happens
encounters
at
Shadow
night.
Mary, whom
So maybe
promptly
that's like
begins to
when
chase
her- Or like, it's like her emotional attacks happen at night. What the fuck? Oh, so she's trying to run away from her dark thoughts.
When she finally stops banging on the door, Mary opens it up and begins quietly looking around. Once the light pans over Shadow Mary once more, she lunges at the camera before the video cuts to daylight and ends. This is significant at this point in the series since this is the first instance of the day-night cycle being disturbed. Since the house is so vastly different during the day versus at night, this natural interruption eventually seems to take a toll on Mary later on in the series.
Well, yeah, that'll throw off your circadian whatever internal clock.
Not again.
But no, having dealt with mental issues my whole life, I've got depression and bipolar manic depression.
In this one, we see Mary
I
lounging
understand
around the house
this.
again.
It straight up
This time,
feels like this.
She's making a map with notes on where and where not to go at nighttime.
And sometimes it just feels
She
like you're
claims
just
that she's
shut in your own
slowly
house.
gaining confidence to
You can
talk
leave
to
anytime you want, but you feel
us.
like you're just
However,
trapped
she
there
quickly
anyway.
shrugs that off as nonsense, since she has no contact with anyone in the outside world at all.
And you're your
Another
own worst
notable
enemy
thing
when
we
it
see
comes
her
to that
do is
stuff.
what's called her
So,
hourly check. She will periodically check the doors and windows to see if they're still locked, in sort of a desperate attempt to check if she can finally escape. Unfortunately, that isn't the case, since anytime she does, they're always locked. We then begin to periodically
setting
see
yourself
shots
up for
of Mary doing
disappointment.
makeup. This is highly significant for one of the theories that we'll be touching on later as well. Particularly, the end scene that just might tell you everything that there is to know about this episode.
she put on a new dress, and she's still laughing at her. Yeah, this is body shame. Not body shaming, but body dysphoria. And the checking the doors constantly, that's just setting herself up for failure. To be upset. She knows they're going to be locked. She knows that most likely they're not going to be open. So she's literally just checking them to be upset about it. And that's her inner voice basically telling her, you're ugly, you're worthless. I'm doing well. Yeah, right. Yeah, this is definitely mental disorders. I'm down for this.
It seems that Maria is getting to Mary pretty badly, and the end bit shows that Mary is unfortunately in denial, since she claims that I'm doing well, when she clearly is not.
Yeah, I've had those days. Before I got on medications and stuff, I had those times I'm just like, I'm doing great. And I am completely broken. Yeah, it's not cool. It's not great. I suggest for anyone who's ever
And
had those kind of things,
not
at
much
least
happens
talk
that
to your
hasn't
doctor.
happened already.
In best
We
case,
see
getting on
Mary
some
messing
medicine.
around with the Shadow Man,
It helps.
almost
It's
in a
nothing to be
playful
afraid
way.
of.
She talks to him before they begin running around the house. The ending takes an interesting turn though when Mary is on her laptop after taking a rest. He begins to loom over her before finally lunging into her for the first time before the video ends. In Discovery, we greet Mary as she's hiding from Shadow Mary at night. We see her very eerily walk downstairs before we go down with her. Once we're down there, we seem to gather a second look at the Shadow Mary chase from earlier. In this, she finds her downstairs in the laundry room. Shadow Mary begins telling Mary that she's worthless, trying to get to her before initiating a chase, sending Mary sprinting upstairs and into a closet door that thrusts her into an underwater area. This is when we discover the garden. This episode is slower than the others, for good reason. The majority of the video shows Mary relaxing in an outdoor setting. The captions through the video tell a narrative explaining how quiet it is and that she could stay there for hours. This is the garden, and this represents the only area of solace that Mary's able to have as she endures the hell that looms back in the house.
So this
Everything
is
seems
her
to be going
escaping
well
reality.
until the very end when Mary seems to be thrust out of the garden and back into the house, almost as if she woke up.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's just basically, you can't escape reality. You can have your happy place and your, all that, but it will catch up with you. If you don't face those demons, they
In this
will just
one,
catch back
we
up
open
with
with
you.
Mary
Yeah.
being taunted by the demons through the phone ringing multiple times and someone banging on the door. Mary believes that she finally has actual guests. However, there's little that she can do since she can't actually answer the door at all. After this, the camera seems to jump all over the house, resulting in a cat and mouse-like game between it and Mary. A notable point in this video is later on when we encounter Maria once more. She does something that's a little interesting.
Beauty's only skin deep. She's still busted inside. You can look pretty as much as you want
Maria
to.
is demon-like beneath her perfect mask.
You can
This
look as
tells a lot
perfect
about
as
her
you want on the
character.
outside
She's
for
perfect
everybody
on
to
the
see,
surface.
but
She's the best version of Mary that Mary could be.
but on the inside,
However, when you peel
yeah.
back that surface layer,
you can be just a
things
terrible
aren't
garbage
quite as
person.
they seemed. In this, Mary plays a game of hide and seek with Shadow Mary. During this though, she allows Mary to ask questions, and so she does. Shadow Mary seems to be throwing out dialogue, clamoring about how worthless Mary is and how she deserves to be locked up in this home. She even goes forth to tell her that she's repulsive and a stupid bitch.
I just don't get it. Please turn around.
You made us. Interesting.
I mean, yeah. In a sense. Which for atmosphere like a video, that makes sense to be like, oh yeah, you made us. When really, no, those things are always there.
The
They're
major
there
point
for
that I want
everybody.
to touch on in this video is the very end. Throughout the entire video,
It's
Mary is
just
poking
how
around
do
the
you deal with
garden,
them?
and it's also shown that Shadow Mary is unable to enter. When the video draws to a close, though, we see our first sighting of the woman in white. We'll be seeing her again very shortly. In this last upload, we see Mary interacting with us on her laptop. It's almost as if it's an entirely new world for her, since she finally has access to seeing everyone in the outside world. During this, though, Shadow Mary enters the frame and begins telling her how we don't care about her. Mary then tells us that we make this more manageable, implying that we are actually helping her. Later in the video, Mary claims, "I saw her again, the woman in white," and proceeds to the garden to encounter her.
Who are you? Are you going to talk to me? Hello? Oh, that's creepy. Oh my god. I can't lip read, I'm sorry.
Mary
saying?
something.
Oh god. Nope. Okay. Nope. I'm leaving.
Definitely
Nope,
saying
this is my
Mary in there
place,
somewhere.
This is my place. You're not taking that away from me.
Mary, can you hear me? Mary, you need help?
While we can't hear her, the woman in white appears to be saying, "Mary, you need to get out of there. Mary, you're not okay. You need help. Mary, can you hear me? You are not safe. Mary. Strangely, this mystery woman in white has arrived around the same time that Mary discovered us. With her silent dialogue, it's almost as if we bear a loose connection with her within Mary's mind. After this, Mary has a run-in with the Shadow Man and a sinister Maria that causes her to pass out. And there we have it. Up to this point in writing, that's where the series draws to a halt. At this point, you may be asking yourself what this all means. While my
It's
take
mental
isn't
illness.
definitive, these are my personal interpretations of all the characters and
100%.
locations that were presented to us.
That's her mind prison.
If you haven't made the connection by now, the house, to me, seems to represent Mary's mind in its entirety. The series opens up with her in what she calls a copy of her parents' house, thus leaving us to theorize that this is a copy of reality in her own mind. She's unable to leave this, and I believe that this represents the idea that her mind is a sort of prison for her, leaving her tormented by the many haunts that plague it. I want to touch on the day and night cycles as well. We previously established that the natural cycle of days and nights can be easily disrupted depending on the situation that Mary's enduring at the time, and I believe that, given their vast differences, daytime in the house represents mental solace in real life. She's able to be herself, poke around the house, and think clearly. At night, however, things begin to take a dark turn, and it seems that these are actual episodes of mental breakdowns, or an overwhelming sense of whatever emotion she's feeling at the time, whether it be fear, anxiety, depression, or humiliation. Early on in the series, Mary makes a claim that I believe supports this, saying that the days are getting shorter. This has led me to
Means
believe
her
that
conditions
time
are
of
getting
mental
worse.
solace is becoming increasingly disrupted as these intense fears and emotions overtake her. The garden is an interesting one. I believe
Sir,
that it's a
escapism.
dreamlike area of solace for her. When inside, she's finally able to get away from the torment of the house. Her emotions, fears, and demons are all put to rest as she sleeps, and she can enjoy her limited time there before she's woken up and jolted back to consciousness. Shadow Mary is a prominent figure in the series. She's the first one that we're introduced to, and she carries a major role throughout the entire thing. I believe that Shadow Mary, given the name, represents the dark side of Mary's psyche. All throughout each upload, we can see Shadow Mary tormenting and instilling her with fear. This becomes prominent when she starts to directly talk to Mary, telling her that she's worthless and that Mary created them. Shadow Mary seems to represent a form of anxiety driven by direct fear, since we never truly know when we'll encounter her. The Shadow Man seems to always be there when Mary's already asleep or uneasy. He seems to thrive off her and finds great satisfaction through simply enveloping her with dread. Particularly through the sleeping scenes of the earlier episodes, the Shadow Man seems to represent anxiety in its entirety. Anytime that Mary's in a state of helplessness like sleep, he seems to make an appearance to mess with her, and anytime that he lunges or attacks her, she passes out, almost as if she becomes overwhelmed through an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
Maria is everywhere, and her presence is given away through her sinister laugh that can be heard throughout the uploads. She seems to always be wearing a perfect mask and is always dressed up in a way to taunt Mary. Mirrors are a direct way for anybody to see themselves. Generally, there are self-imperfections that might be evident to you, however, others may not notice at all. When Mary looks in the mirror, she sees herself. However, she bears a massive weight of self-consciousness and humiliation when looking in the mirror or at her photos. Maria seems to leverage that humility and rubs it in her face in any way that she can. Maria represents the perfect Mary, instilling her with a feeling of worthlessness while, on the surface, being free of any cosmetic imperfections. The darkness seems to arrive at unexpected times, and I believe that this is a combination of all of the big three: the Shadow Man, Maria, and Shadow Mary. Anytime that the darkness consumes her, she passes out, unable to take it any longer. This could be a full representation of the plague that fills the house, the same house that we've determined to represent Mary's mind. The audience is an escape. In the later episodes, it becomes evident that Mary can finally see all of us and uses that to her advantage for feedback and advice on what to do. We could all be her coping mechanism, giving her the reassurance that she needs to overcome her inner demons. Shadow Mary hates it and constantly yells that we're liars and that we're simply watching her for entertainment. Without viewer interaction, Mary would likely feel completely alone and unable to overcome this. We're helping her, and each comment, like, tweet, and post helps her along as a guiding light through this darkness.
I mean, that's great, but the girl needs medicine. Like I said, whole believer. It did wonders for me.
I believe that the woman in white represents logic in Mary's right mind. She's only present in the garden, her only area of solace, and as we established in the later episodes, she tells Mary that she needs help and to get out of the house. With this, she now has an in-series guiding light to help her through her troubles, and strangely, since she's such a new character, she could have been created through the support and guidance that the audience has given her. We've given Mary help, and in turn, her stability and self-confidence are growing, allowing her to finally create a positive figment within her own mind in hopes of fighting back. Mary also has a blog, a Tumblr, and a Twitter account. In those, the audience is able to heighten their presence with Mary as she posts questions and extras, polling us on what she should do next or giving us encrypted clues on her next move.
I mean, that's an
With all
interesting
of
way to
that,
make it more of an
we're left with
ARG.
The series seems to very much be ongoing, and I believe that the purpose of The Woman in White will blossom in future uploads. Whether Mary becomes enveloped in the darkness or gains the ability to fight back at her demons will hopefully be determined in the near future. But for now, this is where I'll draw this to a close.
Yeah, it was like I said, that was straight up. That the second they showed Maria, I was like, that's mental illness. And it's like I've said, it's because I've dealt with that my whole life. Depression used to be the biggest part of it, but as I've grown up, the bipolar kicked in more and more. I was just getting mad and mad and mad and mad over every little thing that would ever happen. And yeah, it was a little bit after my son was born that I was like, I talked to my wife and I'm like, I have to see a doctor. This is getting terrible. And it was getting worse, really worse. And of course, my job wasn't helping. I mean, I was working 12 hours, 7 days a week. It was night shift. Everything sucked. Everybody was pissing me off. And not long after that, I started losing my job. Yeah, here I am. But I mean, just pissed at the world, just constantly. And finally, he sent me to a psychiatrist and got me on medication. I mean, I won't say it's 100%, but it's definitely better than nothing. Much better than nothing. I still have outbursts. Little things can still set me off, but I know when it's happening, and I'm able to catch myself and kind of pull back on it a little bit. When it would happen, I would just dig in my heels and it wasn't going to stop me for anything. So yeah, that Mary one kind of hit a little home. What the fuck is the Russian doll man? This video contains graphic imagery that may upset some viewers. Viewers' discretion is advised. There's a reason I have an 18+ rating on my stream and YouTube channel.
Throughout time, fascination with death has been an ongoing and shared subject for many. The grim, oddly fascinating part about the afterlife involves the possibility of forming some sort of connection with a lingering entity or a loved one that might have passed.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, either to satisfy this curiosity or to cope with loss, people will attempt to contact the dead by either visiting their gravesite or, in more extreme cases, by using certain communication devices such as a Ouija board or some sort of radio. By this point in time, as we all know, these definitely provide heavily mixed results, depending on who you are. But what about those that take this fascination too far? Historically, we've had a few very infamous names pop up about certain people keeping dead bodies for themselves.
Ugh.
Such was the case with Carl Tanzler, the necrophile that kept a deceased and mummified 22-year-old in his home to live with him for over 7 years.
Oh, that's fucked.
This case is crazy in and of itself, but it's been covered time and time again. Because of this, I wanted to focus on a similar, if not slightly more extreme situation that came to light a few years ago, surrounding the bizarre happenings of a Russian man by the name of Anatoly Moskvin. Moskvin is a 52-year-old that, back in the mid to late 2000s, was regarded a genius by many. He
What's
was a
up with this guy
historian
back
who
here?
authored various
I wanna know
scientific
his
papers
story.
and acquired the knowledge of upwards of 13 different languages.
That man's seen some shit
Many of
back
his
there.
peers and family saw him as a quiet, ordinary person with no real cause for concern regarding
He's got
his
dead
behavior.
eyes. At least in
The
that
thing
picture
is,
he
though,
does.
he had this unforgiving obsession with the afterlife, and the scientific papers and magazine publications that he would provide over the years would actually come to assist in explaining the secret and deeply outlandish behavior that he was committing right under everyone's nose. You see, Moskvin was a very disturbing character. In late 2011, he had single-handedly thrown Russian police and media into a whirlwind down one of the darkest and most bizarre criminal cases in the country's history.
29 mummified corpses of women and girls aged 15 to 26. That was the 60s. That's when all
Backing
this
up
shit
to
went down.
1966, Anatoly was born in Nizhny Novgorod, Russia, to
Oh,
his
was this
parents
his
by the names
birth?
of Yuri Fedorovich and Elvira Alexandrovna. According to his parents, he was very socially awkward and had pretty intense difficulty making friends. On the flip side of this, he was extremely smart, and his parents simply chalked up his awkwardness to his intelligence.
Oh, that's
Not
always a
thinking
great
much of it.
excuse.
Young Anatoly had a childhood that was far from conventional, though.
Oh, he can't make
According
friends
to an
because he's
account by
too
him,
smart.
For example, one day in the 3rd grade, he had
So was
returned
Ted
home from
Bundy, and
school
we saw what
completely
happened with
covered in
that.
bruises. As it turns out, these were caused by a man that raped him sometime that day. To date, it's unclear whether he ever relayed that information to his parents or not. This was far from the first odd instance that played out in his youth. In fact, one could argue that what we're about to discuss was the true beginning of his obsession with a very unconventional topic:
No.
the dead.
No.
This fascination stems way
I've had nightmares with dolls like that before. I remember a nightmare specifically from when I was a kid that I think I may have been, or was it? I wasn't in elementary school yet. I know that. So I was somewhere between like 2 and 4. And I vividly still remember this. I woke up in my room. I got up and I just had this weird feeling. And just off in the corner was this doll. Didn't look like any of these, but I mean, there was something to do with it. And I was just like, that's weird. Okay. And I left the room. I went down the hallway and I'm just like, is anyone there? You know, I was like, Mom, Dad, my sister. I'm like, anybody? I get to the living room. It's not a long walk. I get to the living room. The place is covered in these ceramic dolls everywhere. I mean, the couch is covered, the chair is covered, our entertainment. Well, we didn't have an entertainment center. It was like one of those TVs that sat on the floor with the old click TVs. I mean, this was back in like super early 90s. But it was just floor to ceiling, just covered. And I'm like, this is not cool. This is wrong. I mean, very wrong. So I kind of started wandering through the like hoard of dolls, and I go into the kitchen. And had a little bit of like an open concept. First for some of those older houses like that. And it wasn't a big kitchen at the time. And I go in there and I'm just like, and the oven pops open and shoved up in there is my mom inside the oven, just crinkled up in there. The freezer top, it was a over the top freezer on an old fridge, pops open. I think it was my sister who was shoved up in there, just crunched up in there. And somewhere in there was my dad too, I think. I don't really exactly remember where my dad was in the process of this, but I mean, the feeling was definitely like, they're all gone. They're dead. You know, it was like, holy shit. And then all the dolls just looked at me. Just all stared at me. And this one doll in particular, it was like a fucking movie. And I've had multiple dreams like this where it just takes a cinematic camera angle for some point. I'm just standing there and the doll just turns and looks at me. It's like, it's time to eat. And then I wake up. That's all it said. It's time to eat. And then I woke up screaming. I mean, bloody fucking murder, just screaming as loud as I fucking could. And this wasn't like the first time I'd had a night terror, and wasn't the last either, but that is one of the most vivid ones I have. I just lost it. And, you know, my parents come running in, and my sister pokes her head out of her room. It's like, what the hell is going on? And I am just freaking the fuck out. I am just losing it. And it took them forever to get me to calm down. I mean, and like I said, wasn't the first time, wasn't the last time. It's just the one I remember the most. Just really set me off like that. Because I can remember waking up screaming from other dreams, but I don't like remember them nearly as graphically. And I have very graphic dreams whenever I have like a nightmare or a night terror, and I still occasionally have them. I don't really dream as much anymore. I don't know if that's to do with the meds that I was talking about earlier, or just that I've gotten older. But I've had like other night terrors as I've grown up, even in this day of age as an adult, and they're graphic. People die. People get torn apart. I mean, it's just always just the weirdest fucking shit. And it makes no sense. And not even all of it happens to me. I'm there, but like I don't ever actually get hurt. At least, you know, to the ones I remember, the little ones I do. Like, I think the closest one that I can like vividly remember, which was something got me, was I was in our living room. I was in middle school. It was just like maybe in 6th grade or something. Maybe 5th grade. It's when Cartoon Network just started showing like the quote unquote Toonami stuff in the middle of the night. And they were playing, it's when they played Vampire Hunter D. And I was out there. I was on the floor watching TV, watching it. I'm surprised I was even allowed to. I can't remember exactly how I got away with it. Must have been on a weekend is all I can remember. And I'm there. And I don't remember falling asleep at all. But at some point I had just was watching and passed out. And my point of view was just scurrying across the hallway, scurrying through the rooms and across the hallway at like, it was like I was a mouse and just kind of all over the freaking place. And I go down the hall and I turn the corner real quick and I see me laying there and I just go charging right into the back, right into my foot, to the underside of my foot, right into the arches, and just rip right into it. And I wake up as soon as I hit it, and my foot hurt like fuck. I mean, I was physically in pain when I woke up. I mean, I was grabbing my foot and everything. I didn't scream. I may have yelped maybe real quick, but I didn't wake anybody up. And I was just holding my foot like, what the fuck was that? And there was nothing there and nothing on my foot. Nothing happened. No marks, no nothing. I don't know if it just subliminally, the dream just kind of jumped into my head and made me hurt, and in that process made me wake up like one of those falling dreams where you fall and you wake up when you hit the ground. But this time it was me running into my own foot and biting me or something. I don't know, unless I had precognition and a mouse came up and bit me. I mean, yeah, it was just fucking weird. And I'd had my entire life, I've had dreams like that, just from the simple ones where it's just nothing really happens and I just wake up scared. Don't know what's happening. I just wake up scared. Or like the doll one, I wake up screaming and it's just stuck with me. Just utter, complete terror. And luckily the ones I've had more as an adult, I realize when I wake up they're dreams, but holy shit, is it still hard to get back to sleep because my mind likes to race. It really does. And yeah. So yeah, these dolls completely just set that trigger off for me. Let's keep going.
Way back to when he was only 13. In a local weekly publication that focuses on cemeteries and obituaries, Moskvin outlines a very strange ritual that he found himself tangled up in. In the publication, dated October 26th, 2011, he explains that a group of men in black suits stopped him on his way home from school. They were en route to the funeral of 11-year-old Natasha Petrova and ended up dragging young Anatoly along to her coffin, where they forced him to kiss the girl's corpse.
What?
Further on in his writing, he explains that, quote, "I kissed her once, then again, then again." Afterwards, the girl's mother then allegedly placed a wedding ring on the 13-year-old's finger and one on the hand of her dead daughter. "My strange marriage with Natasha Petrova was useful," Moskvin claimed. Useful it was, as Moskvin's unapologetic obsession with the undead was just beginning to take root.
Okay, whatever he's talking about, he's lying.
After this, Moskvin began to have very ominous dreams about the dead girl. According to him, she would visit him nightly and would try to profess her knowledge of black magic upon him, whilst pleading for him to return to the village where the ritual had taken place. Apparently, after heading back there, the visitation stopped, but this would be short-lived, as once he ceased to visit it regularly, she would once again appear in his dreams. Reporting this to his parents was ineffective at best, as they simply took him to a doctor that chalked it up to Moskvin enduring puberty. With this diagnosis, he also went forth to prescribe him valerian, an herbal sedative that aids in relaxation. After an entire year of visits
Yeah, I
by
remember
Natasha,
going through
she would
puberty.
eventually grow tired of Moskvin's
Just suddenly all these
refusal to do
ghosts
what
and
she
shit in
wanted.
my dreams.
Since this was the case, she tasked him with performing a black magic ritual using a classmate's tooth in exchange for her leaving him alone forever. Somehow, according to Moskvin, this ritual was carried out successfully, and as a result, she never came back.
Oh, he's
again.
way too happy in that picture.
This so-called task would have other implications on his life, however, as it successfully kicked off Anatoly's interest in black magic and the occult. Later on in life,
And the
Moskvin
wrong
studied
side
at the
of it,
University
probably.
of Moscow and earned a degree in Celtic Studies, a culture that bears a very close blend in beliefs between life and death. Also, he would go on to join the Society of the Luciferians and would embrace the left-hand path, which bears a focus on sexual magic and personal anarchy. This, coupled with his interest in black magic, would result in Moskvin performing various
I've tried to
rituals on
figure out
animals
those paths
and
once
eventually
before.
vowing celibacy.
I listened to the last
After
podcast on the left,
graduation,
and Henry's
it
tried to
became known
explain
that
it.
He had grown to
a couple
acquire
times.
extensive knowledge
But
of
I
the
still
intricacies
go,
of all the surrounding
I
cemeteries
don't really
in
get
his
it.
area.
Left, right hand,
When
and all
sharing his
that.
knowledge throughout his various writings, he claims that he went to upwards of over 752 of them from 2005 to 2007 in his hometown for a so-called research trip. Assisted by a well-known historian named Oleg Ryabov, the two began their trek across the region to document cemeteries and to unearth local history along the way. The end goal was to publish a book by the name of Nizhny Novgorod Necropolis.
They do have pretty
that
buildings
contained
over
all
there,
his
I'll give them
findings.
that.
But as you might have guessed, Moskvin had ulterior motives in mind. In 2009,
Hey,
local
Benjamin.
residents began to notice that the
How's you been
gravesites of
going,
their loved
man?
ones were either desecrated or dug up entirely. This eventually led to a 2-year-long investigation.
I'm
into
sitting
these
here getting
occurrences
triggered
that
by some
seemingly
dude who,
were
I
at
guess,
all.
did stuff to dead bodies.
In 2011, an anti-Muslim terror attack would unfold at the airport in Moscow, and very shortly afterwards, authorities caught wind of some Muslim gravesites that were allegedly being dug up and vandalized. After going to investigate that for a potential terror suspect, Moskvin would quickly jump to act like he was simply painting over some gravestones. But he was, in turn, promptly arrested, caught red-handed in the act of vandalism. Shortly afterwards, police would then launch an investigation into these bizarre acts by Moskvin, and the first place of interest to search was his living quarters. Fully expecting Moskvin to be an extremist, they were anticipating the discovery of various anti-Muslim propaganda to litter his living quarters.
If
What
only.
they would find in reality, however, would leave police completely baffled. The raid, which took place in an apartment that he actually shared with his parents, ended up
So
leading
long?
to the discovery of 29 life-size dolls.
What?
Russian police have released this video they shot in what can be described
If you're saying
as a
so
house
long
of
as if
horrors.
you're
They
leaving,
say those
then
aren't
have a good
dolls
night.
strewn about the apartment, but actual
Unless you mean
remains of
something
people
else.
A historian had dug up and dressed in women's clothing and then put on display.
The figures, heavily representing antique dolls, wore various types of clothing. Apparently, Moskvin dressed all of these up in makeup, even going as far as to place buttons or various circular objects in their eye sockets to give them a more lifelike appearance. The thing is, though, These weren't simply dolls. Rather, these were all created with the dead corpses of girls ranging in age from 3 to just 12 years old.
Oh, that is
Even more
fucked.
disturbing, when police began to move the bodies in this investigation, most of them would emit some sort of jingle, and it was later revealed that Moskvin stuffed each of the rib cages with music boxes so they could emit some sort of audible feedback when he interacted with them. Moskvin also allegedly kept track of their birthdays in his room and celebrated them when the time came. According to police, there were photographs and plaques taken off of gravestones, doll-making manuals, and maps of local cemeteries littering the apartment. Furthermore, the clothes that most of these dolls were wearing were the actual clothes in which they were buried.
Whoa.
Moskvin later admitted that he achieved structural integrity of the corpses by wrapping their legs and arms with rags before stuffing those into nylon tights. He performed this for each of their limbs and their faces before inserting buttons into their eye sockets as to, quote, allow them to watch cartoons with him. In police interrogations that followed, he claimed that he loved most of them. However, there were a few that he simply wasn't content with. The ones that he had grown to dislike were promptly stuffed into their small garage and left to be forgotten.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, he did
Yeah,
always have
oh, I
loneliness.
just
His
didn't care
parents
about
claimed
these
he'd grown this massive
literal
obsession with
people
creating
and just
life-size
shoved them
dolls,
in a corner
but
in the
some didn't
garage.
think much of it, regardless of the smell that it would emit. We saw these dolls, but we did not suspect there were dead bodies inside. We thought it was his hobby to make such big dolls, and we didn't see anything wrong with it, his mother claimed in an interview. According to a neighbor, there would be a constantly putrid smell that would emit from their apartment every time he passed by. However, he chalked it up to being a sewage problem below the building, not thinking much of it. Out of all the corpses that he kept locked up in his apartment, there was one of them that was with him for upwards of 9 years. With all of these findings by police,
How
Moskvin
didn't-
was eventually charged with extremely heavy
Well, I guess they
crimes.
must have been embalmed, at least. 'Cause
In
I'm
late
like, how did these
2011,
things not
with new nicknames given
liquefy?
by the media, such as Lord of the Mummies and the Puppeteer, Moskvin eventually confessed to 44 counts
They just not
of grave
fall
abuse
apart.
and was sentenced to a psychiatric ward shortly afterwards. There, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and has been in confinement ever since. It's been reported that Moskvin was repeatedly beaten by guards at this facility, and according to his mother, was also fed up to 15 pills per day, which kept him in a catatonic state. Since
Well,
this
this is
was the
over in
case,
Russia, so I
a human
completely
rights
believe
lawyer
it.
by the name of Violetta Volkova was
We're
hired
not
to
much
represent
better, but
Moskvin.
still, yeah.
Her end goal was to get him out of this facility and into an independent clinic in Moscow for re-examination.
She don't look much
expressing her
better.
primary distrust in the ward's doctors. This grueling legal fight ended up earning him a second hearing, and as of September of 2018, he was offered the opportunity to continue his psychiatric treatment at home, and alongside this, the ability to essentially walk free.
Bad idea.
As you might expect, though, this decision has been met with pretty heavy controversy.
You abandon your girls. I brought them home and warmed them. Oh my god, that is gross.
One of the victim's mothers, a woman by the name of Natalia Chardamova, didn't realize that this entire time she was visiting an empty coffin when going to her daughter's gravesite. The corpse of her daughter, Olga, was one of the 29 girls that he dug up and kept locked up in his home. Apparently, she had been brutally murdered at age 10, and it's completely tragic to think about what this mother could have gone through during that. Coming to the realization that her daughter was taken from her not only once, but a second time infuriates her, and she's one of the very many that unapologetically oppose the potential release of him.
Well, fuck yeah.
He needs to be kept under surveillance. This creature brought fear, terror, and panic into my life. Anatoly Moskvin is set to walk free from his psychiatric ward sometime this year. The order of his containment with the facility was set to expire last December, so his release comes in only a matter of time. While he might walk as a quote-unquote free man, his crimes will forever go down as some of the darkest and most bizarre in history. The emotions that these parents are going through is completely inconceivable, and we can only hope that authorities keep a close eye on him for the remainder of his life, as he could very easily still possess the inner drive to continue with his disturbing antics.
Oh, it's antics. Yeah, such a fun word.
Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. I love you all.
No, he
And
probably
given-
got out and immediately went into hiding someplace. He's out doing. If he's not doing this again, then I couldn't tell you. Because that apparently must have been in like 2019. So it's been at least 2-3 years since then. So he's just fucking off doing God knows what now. If he's even still alive. Jesus Christ.
Kanye Quest. A simple RPG. An outlandish story.
Oh, well, at least this one should be a bit fun, more fun. So, as a palate cleanser for that one, apparently this video game, I guess, is related to Kanye West, is tied to a cult. So, yeah,
Critical acclaim.
let's get that
and sudden
ickiness
onslaught
off of us
of
now and go ahead and
conspiracies.
watch this instead.
How the
I
hell
feel
did this
gross.
happen? It was July 22nd of 2013. A simple indie game emerges on RPG Maker
Kanye
by a
Quest?
mysterious user named Phoenix to surprisingly critical acclaim. Vice, Giant Bomb, Genius, Kotaku, even Video Game Donkey jump on the bandwagon, and it all seemed like it was turning out to be a massive success. But, of course, what else would you expect from a video game featuring Kanye West? Even more
2013, I
so,
never heard of
A
this.
game surrounding said Mr. West, teleporting to the year 3030 via wormhole to take down an evil clone of rapper Lil B to restore the true base god order to this futuristic dystopia. It was flawless, and tens of thousands of people flocked to download it to try their hand at this new indie masterpiece. But, unfortunately, not all would fall to plan. As a matter of fact, Kanye Quest was hiding something. Something dark, disturbing, and insanely complex, eventually leading players down a rabbit hole full of cold recruitment, bizarre websites, nonsensical social media, and hidden source code. Even stranger, this all
I mean,
went
it's Kanye
unfounded
West, I'm
for
not
nearly 2
surprised.
years. Welcome back to Console Conspiracies.
Console conspiracy. So you got like a show based on these or something? If Nexpo does video game stuff too, yeah, I want to see more of this if that's the case.
So, 2013. Charming game comes out. You play as Kanye West, and it involves a wormhole that sends you spiraling from the year 2010 to 3030. In Pokemon random encounter-like style, you fight various NPCs using a turn-based rap battle mechanic that was destined to appeal to rap culture and RPG fans alike. Throughout the game, there are terminals that direct you where to go, what to do, etc., and these are scattered all over the place by what the game calls the Base God Task Force.
What?
Now, who are they? Basically, the United States in 3030 is run by an evil clone of rapper Lil B, who's employed a task force.
Fucking
to
Lil
guard him.
B.
Said group has recently
Who's
gone
Lil
against his
B?
will and has begun to control the
I
population.
have no idea who
with
this guy
militaristic
is.
Force. Throughout the game, your goal is to venture through the city, fighting the evil rapper clones in order to banish Lil B from the helm and restore the true base god order to the nation. Oh, and it's all apparently a dream. In 2013. Simple stuff. Anyway, the game is admittedly pretty cool, and the player base reflected that. Having exploded in online popularity during the time of its release, a lot of eyes were on it.
Never heard of it.
Unfortunately, though, little did pretty much everybody but one single person know that this game was hiding a sinister secret.
Wait, clone of
Let's take a
Tupac.
look at the trailer. Wait a minute.
I ain't gotta go that far back. Illuminati!
Spin.com. 2 years later, in January of 2015, an anonymous user would post an entire information dump about their personal discoveries in Kanye Quest. This so-called innocent RPG couldn't have been further from just that. So they explain. This morning, I played Kanye Quest for the first time in forever. I never played past maybe 5 minutes of it the first time before quitting for 2 years, so I decided to really sit down and play it. In the game,
It tends to
there are
happen.
based information systems that tell you how to play, tell you your current task, tell you to praise Lil B, etc.
Praise Lil
In the first
B!
feature area of the game,
I still
Bay
don't know
Area
who Lil B
3030,
is.
you can walk into an abandoned building and find a trashed based information system. It's semi-comprehensible, but the majority of its letters in the messages are swapped with periods and backslashes. They then show the aforementioned message that appears to read as follows. Based information systems, ascend and worship the based god. Sure, at first glance it may seem like nothing more than the result of this machine being trashed, but soon, we'll find this proves to be a bit darker. Anon continues. Later on, you meet a Base God Task Force cultist in the street who randomly asks you, "What do you want to do?" You're given a 6 blank space prompts where you can put in any character. For shits and giggles, I put in Ascend.
Oh, just shits and giggles.
And
You just
Little did
happen
they
to
know.
know this word.
this would be the beginning of a shitstorm. Kanye Quest, from this point forward, would begin to twist and mold into only a shell of its former self. You are now a butterfly. The color scheme is now grayscale, and the cheery musical tones from the vanilla game are gone, replaced by the creepy ambience of ringing bells, sharp piano hits, and eerie voice clips. You are stuck in a labyrinth.
Congratulations. You've proven yourself to be an open-minded and curious thinker. We must apologize for deceiving you, but we can reveal that the game you were playing until this point was a front.
Damn it,
constructed to
Kanye.
protect what you are currently accessing. We must ask that you do not reveal this area to the public. If you believe that you may be prone to revealing information or do not wish to participate, please close this program immediately by pressing Alt F4 or selecting the No option when it appears. By selecting the Yes option, you agree to participate and not reveal information.
From an
The
RPG
following
Maker
is a
game?
thought
Sure.
exercise designed to help teach you something beneficial. By undertaking this exercise, you will hopefully be affected in a positive way. Due to the nature of the exercise, this something cannot be revealed immediately. This exercise may or may not be restricted to the software. It is important to remember that the purpose of this exercise is to benefit you. You will not be timed. We cannot provide any more information, except that we wish you good luck. You may now begin. Welcome to your ascension.
The only way to go from this point forward is by entering 8-character passwords. A lot of them. Clues to the answers are nowhere to be found though, so you have no other way to go but south. When heading in that direction, you end up reaching a large, interconnected area with a black and white mural that, when screen capped and stitched together, results in a QR code that redirects you to a website called q4i.co/fm.
Whoa.
The link is dead.
Yeah.
At this point, with nowhere else to go, and without any leads to go off of, Anon decided it was time to take their efforts out of game. He eventually gets into contact with the aforementioned dev named Phoenix and inquires on this strange discovery.
I mean, it's an
The
RPG
guy's only response to
Maker
me is that it wasn't his
game.
game at all.
You can shove those back
Eventually,
into the
he ended
RPG
up
Maker
diving into the game
development
files and
tool
data mined a few of the
and
passwords that are required to progress.
literally get into the
Jagatai,
codes for shit.
Petuns, and Ian to be exact. All seemingly random and out of place. Curious, he Googled them and encountered something notable. A 72-page unfiction investigation covering an ominous YouTube video that involves something that we're quickly becoming very familiar with. A subject curiously titled Ascensionism. The grueling operation that was unknowingly unfolding before him was in the process of decrypting codes, contacting an Ascension hotline, and piecing together symbolism that all seemingly stemmed from one eerily enigmatic video that's since been wiped from the internet. But I digress. Clearly, Ascensionism as a whole was quickly rising to the forefront in this mystery. But before we continue, there's something I want to show you.
Sounds like a weird branch of Scientology.
It seems, at least to me, that the rabbit hole that you and I are venturing into involves some sort of cult. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Anon's got passwords to find.
Yeah. Ascensionism record?
Reading further into that thread revealed more clues that they used to progress
Is it a
the
music
Melania
thing?
quest. As it turns out, there are 34 of these locked segments that you're tasked with cracking, and as you do, your screen becomes darker and darker until it's completely black. At least, until you complete what the game calls your ascension. Once you complete the tasks outlined before you, you're thrust into an all-white room with a single terminal. In here, you initiate a battle with an enemy cryptically called JFZZ JNMS. This fight ends immediately. Afterwards, you're left with no other option than to quit or interact with the sole remaining terminal. And so they do.
You have proven your worth once again. You have ascended. However, further ascension is always possible. If you do not wish to ascend further, your journey ends here. So please close this program by pressing Alt F4 or selecting the No option above. By selecting the Yes option, you agree to participate further and you grant us permission to interact with your possessions. Would you like to participate?
It's an RPG Maker game.
Of course.
Over the following 2-week time period, we will interact with you and your possessions in several ways. Keep an eye out, as some of these ways may be subtle. Others may not be. We may attempt to contact you directly. If we do this, we will attempt to notify you of our presence using a keyword. If you still consent to participation, please select the Yes option.
It's vague enough that literally
To participate.
anything could be a sign.
Absolutely.
Good call.
Please wait.
It's an RPG Maker game. You're not connected to the internet.
Thank you. Enjoy the next 2 weeks and await instruction.
I found $2 in my pocket. It's a sign.
He waits and waits and waits. Oh, yeah, by the way, that voice you've been hearing, that's from a YouTuber by the name of Mama Max, aka someone that's also dug into this mystery and released an insanely good video of his own. Link in the description. Anyway, he tried this. He boldly took the risk, sending out his full name, personal address, and email, and you wouldn't believe what happened to him.
No.
He's still alive. I mean, right, Max? You're good, right?
Don't worry about it. You'll see. You'll all see.
Shortly after Kanye Quest went live, RPG Maker took it down, and links to obtain the only
Really?
remaining original copy stemmed from the dev's own Tumblr page. The only problem? It was hidden behind a password. Rumors have spread that the original copy somehow held the potential to connect to the internet without the user's consent, and that the information that's requested from you is actually sent off to a cult.
It's not.
But this was only the beginning. I'm sure you remember that eye from the trailer. It's also right here. Allegedly, their official record label. Why was it there? Why was this simple RPG so wrapped up with an arc that involved digging through hidden codes, sending off your personal information, and joining some sort of secretive real-life organization? While it's currently unclear, the ties are stark, and it seems that this so-called Ascension cult that the game appears to be tied to might be hiding something a bit darker. Diving into the cult's beliefs are where things become grim. Anon explains. Ascensionism is a New Age cult that goes back to at least 2006. Its main beliefs focus around there being two spirits that make up a whole being.
There are two
The physical
wolves
spirit,
inside of you.
the body, and
The
an
first
ethereal
wolf is
spirit,
named Frank.
the soul.
The second wolf is
Long story
named
short,
also named Frank.
Souls live lifetime
Frank
after
is an
lifetime
asshole.
until they reach a point
Don't
where they are
trust
judged by
Frank.
themselves after a death, and upon deciding they have been sufficiently good, destroy themselves and become primordial soul stuffs from which new souls form. Now, I'm not entirely sure.
I always
what
wanted to be a
primordial soul
crafting
stuffs means,
material.
but if I'm following him correctly, then I gather that our souls are believed to live infinitely, being passed through generation after generation, until the time finally comes. Judgment Day, aka death.
Okay,
On a lighter
Applegate.
note, in a tangentially related Blogspot post dated at June of 2009, a cult member by the name of Trevor Wozniak metaphorically explains the meaning of life and how it's perceived by an Ascensionist. The actual definition of an Ascensionist is a person who has completed a mountain ascent, usually a notable one. The use of this word in this blog refers to having a mindset that's always optimistic, willing to embrace everything and take it head on. It requires that you take reality out of perspective and focus on what you want. The concept of mind over matter applies greatly here. Do not say, I think I can do it. Say, I am doing, as if to remove all self-doubt. Be the first to reach the top of these metaphorical mountains. Now, this doesn't seem very dark or sinister.
Like Harikariism or
At
something
least,
like
The
that.
central principle of what it means to be an Ascensionist essentially stems from the results of your prior actions, resembling the climb of a mountain. But, as with anything that is or might seem entirely good in nature, this too can swing in the other direction.
Well, that's usually how the cults start and stuff. They
The
always
other
like,
side of their
we're here to
coin
help you.
centers on the principle that anything negative
And then
done to any
something bad
person
happens.
was agreed upon by their prior self. In other words, you deserve anything bad that happens to you because somewhere in a prior generation, you asked for it.
God, my past self was an asshole.
Now that we have a grasp on the belief system, let's resume our investigation.
I did
specifically
something
on the
bad in my
portion
past.
That involved the thread from Unfiction. Because it had clues. A ton of them. The mystery that they were being sent down had coincidentally initiated investigation just 2 months prior to Kanye Quest going live. containing a plethora of codes, cryptic images, and a mysterious Ascensionism phone number, all stemming from one YouTube video. It seemed as if their hands were full within their own investigation. To some, it began to appear that this was all a pre-planned phenomenon. However, those associated
I don't even know if
with
something
Ascensionism's
awful is still
alleged official
online.
record label would claim otherwise.
Okay.
Within this rabbit hole, another fellow YouTuber by the name of Psychotrip was spearheading an investigation of his own. One of the major breakthroughs that he encountered in this was that of a simple Twitter page with the handle Ascend Today, supposedly being the official profile for the record label. Scrolling through their archive of tweets presents us with a myriad of nonsensical phrasing and disturbing symbolism, and it was believed that this was either some sort of artificially run account or simply a tool that was playing into that unfiction mystery. Psychotrip followed them, and less than a minute later, they followed back.
Yeah.
I
Always gonna have that follow back.
decided to follow them on Twitter for whatever reason, because I thought, oh, I'm not following Ascend Today. That's the name of their Twitter handle. Let me do that. I'm gonna start talking about Kanye Quest again. Let's see. Within seconds, they followed me back. Within less than a minute, they started talking to me. As far as I know, this is the first time they've actually broken character, per se, and spoken to anyone in a normal-ish way.
It turns out that he was able to obtain a conversation with them, but interestingly, it wouldn't end up revealing as much as he thought, as they denied any sort of involvement in this odd mystery. Frustration ensued. However, this didn't stop Psychotrip in his efforts. It seemed that whatever, or whoever that was running this account, was trying to keep their image clean in order to brand themselves into a legitimate record label. But this begs the question, why use the same imagery associated with the cult? Why the same name? Regardless, in the vast sea of the internet, other Ascensionism
I may or
resources
may not be
were
grabbing
here
my
at our
phone.
disposal.
I want to see if they're still up.
A website, their Tumblr, the record label's website, a YouTube page, and a blogspot. Now, what do all of these have in common?
The internet.
A man that's been right under our nose this entire time. More specifically, a man by the name of Nick Lyons. More on him shortly. In my research, I stumbled upon a Reddit post by a user named Shrinkman. They were explaining the mystery to r/ARG and began inquiring on various aspects of it. Midway down, they included an update with a notable bit of information. Updates on Ascensionism records since Kanye Quest. 1. They have created a new game, Calypso, that can be downloaded from their website. Again,
Calypso.
there's very little information on this game on the web, and it doesn't seem like anyone's figured out the message of it. As you might expect, my interest was piqued. A new game by our Ascensionist friends is undoubtedly something that I'd have great pleasure digging into. While I've managed to get my hands on a copy, even after it's been taken down, I'd like to hand the rest of this segment over to someone that I believe could explain it better than I could. Because this gets weird. Max, I'll let you take this one.
Calypso.
Get it, Max.
This archived relic weathered the flow of time and made its way to me courtesy of previous investigators. Downloading and unzipping the files reveals but one folder, called Calypso version 0.01. It's been rumored that many more versions were planned, but according to even the tightest circles of investigators, they never met the light of day. Opening the contents of the folder, you'll be met with a solitary executable. Running the program
RPG Maker.
instantaneously bricks your computer and starts hacking your webcam, live streaming to God only knows where. It then reads your IP address and begins doxing your location to nearby Ascensionists to come kidnap you. Your computer will then start playing music that hypnotizes you to punch yourself in the face until you're knocked out cold so you can't resist when they come snatch you up.
Yeah, right.
I'm just kidding.
I was gonna
It
say.
doesn't do any of that. Calypso is completely safe. Running the program brings you to a standard main menu with options to start, load, open settings, and quit. Beginning the game puts you in the standard top-down RPG Maker layout overlooking a female character on an island of mazes. There are a handful of doors and interactable objects spread throughout. The objective of the game is to perform the duties given to you at the top of the screen. The instructions are manically written in nonsensical sentences, as well as the dialogue between you and the other characters. Most of the duties include simple tasks such as touching an object or opening a door. Whenever you successfully perform a task, you are given money which you can then use to buy what is known as an Ascension package level in-game. These seem to do nothing but make you more money every time you perform a task. As far as I can tell, you can keep doing this infinitely with no effect to the game world. After some exploring, you'll wind up finding some new items, characters, and areas, but not much, if anything, is even remotely interesting about them. You'll receive a new few lines of dialogue that will repeat infinitely and nothing more. Dipping into the game files confirm that there seems to be no endgame or even any secrets. Allegedly, this project was abandoned soon after it was released to the public. There's really only one piece of interest with Calypso, and that's the voicemails. In-game, you have access to a telephone, in which voicemails will progressively start to appear in your inbox. These voicemails happen to be real-life recorded phone calls made to the Ascend hotline when it was active.
This is absurdus. You know I'm still in this. Send me a message. You got my email. Ascend.
Hi, this is Reginald. Please call me back at... Thank you. Bye. Snowless Bravo, Light Storm. Snowless Charlie, Light Storm.
White Storm?
Man. M-A-N. 854. Phone number. Time for contact.
Sadly, however, as far as we currently know, that concludes all that there is behind Calypso.
I mean, that's kind of cool, I
If
guess.
there's one takeaway from Calypso, it's that the voicemails lead us to the conclusion that there are people out there that bear great interest in becoming an Ascensionist. Code words are read, questions are asked, and inquiries don't exactly sound like they're running thin. This is a real-world operation, but before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a step back. Were Kanye Quest, this unfiction mystery, the various websites, and Calypso really some wild tools put in place for this Ascensionism cult? Or was this simply something that was riding on their backs? Throughout this investigation, we've seen a name. Nick Lyons. But who is he? Nick Lyons is the only artist currently signed to Ascensionism Records, a record label that supposedly belongs to the cult of the same name. His identity is unknown. Interesting. I have a sneaking suspicion that this is our guy. But was this an alias?
He's like
Obtaining
an
information
like an
on actual
interpreted
Nick Lyons proves
honest
to be
artist or
futile,
something.
At least for me, but his involvement thus far has led me to a theory. Thinking back, Nick Lyons has popped up all over the place right under our nose. We see him on the cult-related YouTube channel, their official record label website, and according to Sputnik Music, he's the only artist currently signed to them. The thing is, it seems that this entire quote-unquote record label was illegitimate at best. Check this out. As of the past few months or so, each and every website connected to Ascension Records has gone offline, banished to the realm of internet obscurity. With it, the very same Twitter profile from that Psycho Trip conversation. Before these went down, though, Mama
Someone's
Max
now
was
just
able to
holding the
gather
name.
screenshots
I just
that would
looked
prove
it
to
up.
be vital in where we're going with this.
They're following
In his
Expo.
Kanye Quest video, he put on display the Who Is domain lookup for all of these various sites, and which name continually popped up? Lions. So let's clear the air. Was this record label and game actually tied to Ascensionism?
Or is it some giant art
likely.
project?
That isn't to say that Ascensionism isn't real though, because as a matter of fact, they are. Albeit extremely obscure, it has its devoted followers and dates back to the very early 2000s, potentially even further. Digging through their online footprint reveals numerous old internet websites and scholarly publications that contain various writings like the one that we touched on earlier. So how do these two connect? It seems that our mysterious uploader is the key to unlocking the safe that surrounds the answers to this mystery. But unfortunately, any mentions, profiles, or archives surrounding this person are few and very far between. As it turns out, the person behind the name had done this strategically, since the only results that I can find when looking this up are logos of Chinese restaurants, digital works of art, news articles surrounding Phoenix, Alabama. You get the picture.
I mean, yeah.
So let's take a step back.
Use a
then.
name that's super
Let's recap
common.
on everything and everyone that we've crossed paths with thus far regarding Kanye Quest. The Unfiction thread was dealing with a separate but similar investigation. The Tumblr page with the original game is locked. The RPG Maker page is taken down. But... Nick Lyons. Mr. Lyons is still active on the internet. I say this because right here is his Bandcamp. Clearly having an interest in the dark and occult underbelly of the internet. In my opinion, it seems like this guy is the one behind this entire operation. Kanye Quest was made in RPG Maker, and it's not an impossibility that he could have gone onto the site and made a video game of his own while concurrently setting everything else up. What compelled him to do this, though, is something that I don't think I'll ever find the answer to. Perhaps he's an Ascensionist himself, being tasked to recruit newfound and willing members for their cult operation. As we can recall from the Calypso voicemails, willing minds exist, and there are more of them out there than you think.
I mean, yeah. Cults are very alluring.
So, this is a letter to you, Nick Lyons. If your goal here was to recruit new Ascensionists, then whether or not it worked is unclear. What did work, though, was the massive wave of attention that a cryptic and hidden ending brought your way. If you were the one that uploaded the game, if you were the one that created the Pastebin document 2 years later, and if you were the one that was pulling the strings on Twitter, your numerous websites, and the YouTube channel, then I tip my hat to you, as you've created and subsequently discontinued one of the most compelling rabbit holes that the internet's seen in recent years.
He probably got over his head with it and just dumped the project. That happens with a lot of these. They start something and they think they're going to be big with it, and then once it starts catching
Kanye
up with them,
Quest
they're like,
carries with it an insanely convoluted
shut it down,
reservoir
I
of
can't stay up
information
with
to
this.
unearth. What all seemed like an innocent and ordinary RPG had
Tupac.
strung the internet along down a wildly tangential rabbit hole, leading us not only to cult websites, but to their social media accounts, concurrent mystery investigations, other RPGs, and more. With the lack of any verifiable way to download the real copy of the game since it was taken down and locked behind a password, it looks as if the mystery surrounding it being an actual recruitment tool is, at least as of now, Slated to fade into the realm of online obscurity.
If somebody wanted in there, they could get in there.
Nick Lyons, if you're ever to return, then give me a sign. If the Tumblr password's out there, if there's a further purpose to Calypso, if you're an Ascensionist, hell, if there's even a hint in your music, then throw us a bone. I mean, you did request our information in-game, and we gave it to you. Looks like it's your move. We'll be waiting.
He takes 75 cents out of your piggy bank. It's a sign.
Thanks so much for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next one. I love you all.
Oh, I love you
And
too.
goodbye.
I'm gonna move this mic real quick. Oh. Go ahead, stop that. Put some other music on. What's up, witchy lady? So, should I go for? I'll start with Kanye West, or whatever. So, to me, it looks like an ARG and it just got out of control. He started something. He probably was going to try to push it towards his music label or something, and it just got too big for him, so he just gave up on it. That's what it seems like to me. Not everyone can handle that kind of pressure coming down on top of them. Can't keep that act up forever. And the payoff would have been just, people would have been too disappointed with the payoff. So to avoid, any harassment he was already getting, he probably just dumped it off. The Russia puppet man. Fuck that guy. I'm curious. I'm going to jump back in here real quick. I'm gonna see. What's going on with him? I mean, it's not looking like there's anything new. Wait. Maybe they didn't let him go? What source is that? 22? Let me go ahead and bring it up. So I'm on the Wikipedia. That's his motives. I think I just saw it. Where was it? Okay. In September 2018, Moscovin's doctor stated that he was no longer dangerous and petitioned the court to release him for outpatient care from home. However, in February 2019, a subsequent whatever fucking word that is, psychiatric evaluation found that it was too early to release Moscovin, and the hospital withdrew their petition. So he didn't get out. That's good. That's very good. He did not need to be out on the streets again. Because a guy in his condition, he was easily going to go back to doing it again. He would have been digging up more poor girls and turning them into dolls or whatever. God, that's fucking creepy. So that's that. So good. He's still behind bars, exactly where he belongs. What is Mary doing? Oh. So he ended at Intruder and then Rain came out. One of her videos is half-hour long. This got me. I want to know. I'm curious enough. I want to know what's up with this. She's got a playlist with everything in it. Darn it. Yeah, I'm gonna play these. I'll even watch the 30-minute one. I want to know where this goes all. There's Dark Mary. Did it just teleport up there with her?
What?
Okay. So it can just move around the house?
What?
You're gonna poke around, it's gonna be right there. What?
Hello? It's Mary.
Hey. Weren't we playing a game? You gonna chase me?
Shit, what am I supposed to do?
The fact that you're more worried that they're not doing anything
Jesus.
is almost more fucked up.
What am I supposed to do?
Aren't I supposed to be scared and running?
Okay. Oh, this is a terrible idea.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Oh, gone she goes.
Doesn't matter. You made it. We're good. Okay.
My heart. So it was standing in front of the door that led to the garden.
I'm here, right? Doesn't matter at all.
Something is wrong with the garden. The weather is changing. It's rarely sunny. Your safe place is crumbling. Oh, hi, Shadow Man. Sometimes I'm underwater. I keep finding broken things. That'd be kind of cool to find out in the woods. Old things. Abandoned things. So is it supposed to be her?
Bridge.
Is it like
This isn't my bridge. Hello?
it's leaking into her safe space? So the garden being her safe space and everything, keeping her... What are you doing? So the area that she used to basically get away from it all is getting, I guess, corrupted by these thoughts of hers, her mental illness.
Oh, that's so far.
Nope. What are with these cuts? What the fuck? I pinch. Yeah, you couldn't pay me enough. So the darkness is now in her safe space. Something is very, very wrong. So they can get into the garden now. Is that what I'm seeing? It's winter.
It's freezing.
The feeling of when she's running at her to just turn around and deck her has to be there. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. That's denial. It'll be all right. That's extreme denial. But no, just the, sorry, Nexpo, no. Other things I'm doing. But it's another video game thing, so I'll put it in the spoopy category. Oh, wait. I want Mary. So, why are we in my bookmarks? But no, just the desire, if they're running at you, just turn around and deck her. I ain't scared of you no more. Bam. I'm scared about this 30-minute long video coming up. What is that got to be about? That's got to be like a finale. Because she hasn't posted anything in like a couple of years. What was this one called? Gone. Fuck you. Hit her with a flashlight.
Wait, what? Wait, what the fuck? Guys? Guys, where did you go? Guys? Wait, what, no.
Everything's reverted back to zero. She's lost connection.
They were just here. Idiot. I just had them less than an hour ago. Please,
We could have friends. So worthless. But you even deserve to lose what you never had. And now I get to see you suffer. Run away, Mary. Run away from everything.
What? Oh, come on, please. What the fuck? Shit.
You're...
Where did your garden go? It's gone. It's all gone. Mine.
Oh, God. Please tell me they were real.
You never had friends. You don't deserve friends. You have no one. Stop fighting me. You have nothing. It'll be easier if you give in. What if you can't see that? I'll make you understand.
Is this... Ow. Is this like her... Is this suicidal tendencies? Is Dark Mary basically...
I'm stronger now.
Is like Dark Mary her suicidal thoughts? The fuck? Yeah, she's lost the garden apparently, so she's lost her, you know, her only form of solace, I guess. She's lost connection with everybody on the outside world, so she's stuck in her own head again. So now it's just beat. This. So is this like symbolic of her committing self-harm? Because of how she was looking at her arm last one. Oh god. This has got to be like symbolic of her committing self-harm.
Please, no more. I understand now. I am nothing. There is nothing. Correct. Please, I don't want any more pain. I don't want any more. Please. Please make it stop. Let me tell you a secret.
Oh.
All that's left to do is suffer.
This thing's trying to draw her to suicide. No, MapPad, I don't need to see your film theory about this. I need to see more Mary Mary. So that's last 8 months. I'm not liking this big one coming up. I'm not liking those last 2 videos. Something blog post. Those like motion lights. This is my last video. No, it wasn't. No point in trying anymore. Oh, girl, get some help. That is what it feels like. That is exactly what it feels like. And she's sitting there just hoping the garden pops up, her safe space. And it's just causing her to lose hope on it even more every time she does it.
Shut up! Shut up! Go away!
Well then. Hair's falling out. You're that stressed out now. She's not even in that position.
Stop begging!
Take it off the hinges. What are you doing? Pulled her tooth out.
I can't do this anymore! Stop, please don't. Oh God, oh God. And give it all away. My bones, you break. Oh shit.
My thoughts exactly.
Come on. Turn on.
Something's gonna be right there. Right on you.
It's true when you love somebody. Don't leave them in your car.
What the fuck happened there? She just rips. Okay, I know I shouldn't, but what the fuck did she rip? I'm guessing it's symbolic of her ripping that picture's head off. It's as if Maria ripped her head off. What? Oh, this ain't gonna have a happy ending at all, and I don't like that. I'm going to end this. Please don't. Go away, Matt Pat. Oh, it's the 30-some minute one. Oh, I feel bad. Oh, I don't even like the freaking thumbnail picture. I saw what was happening. Oh, boy. Oh, Mary, get some help, please. Yeah, it's like her arm was bound up or something. I think she's hurting herself. I think this is like the late stages of depression and stuff where she's entered self-harm and getting real close to suicide. And I don't particularly like it. Mm-mm. You don't need to do that. Those are for food. Those are for food, not people. It goes back in the no. You don't need to pick a different one. That's for food. Put it back. Good girl. Good girl. Mary, that's for food, not people. I wouldn't even thank you for putting it back. Oh fuck. You're not gonna use a bread knife. Oh, Mary. Don't pick and choose. Just put them all back. You're fine. I wouldn't even say use them on the bad thoughts, because God knows where that could go. So she either she's either lost contact with everybody or she's cut off contact. Which this is another case of
You haven't spoken in months. It's nice to hear you. I missed hearing you.
I can't do this anymore.
What?
I don't want to keep doing this. I don't have anything left. I'm begging you. Just kill me. Please don't laugh at me. Please don't.
No!
What?
I can't do that for you, Mary. I don't have the power.
No.
It's not what I'm here for.
No.
But you can. Only you can make this end.
yep.
I have to do it?
No, you don't.
Yes.
No, you don't. You don't have to do that.
Of course.
That's usually what the voices like to tell you. But nah, you don't have to. Girl, no. I'm curious if she like
Sure.
Yes. This will all end. The pain will stop with this.
I'm just scared.
Because you're a coward. You've been a coward all your life. Now you have a chance to finally do something about it.
yeah, I don't even want to talk right now. Holy fuck. There's better ways, girl. There's better ways than this. That is never the right answer.
I can't. But you said they're not real.
You just found a contradiction.
You're right.
It just gave you a contradiction to go off of. Your own mind gave you a contradiction that you're playing yourself. No, Mary.
What's that?
She's getting notification.
Oh my god, they are here. Hi again. I knew. I knew they were there. You lied to me.
No shit.
No,
That's all it's been doing.
you lied to me. Everything you
Metaphorically shining a light on it, yeah.
said, it's all been a lie. Why didn't you tell me they exist, huh? Were you keeping them from me? Anything? Anything to say? Was it all a fucking trick? So you could sneak in and hurt me when I was terrified I'd lost all my friends? So you could just keep tearing me down? And throw me down the stairs? You broke my hand! And minutes ago, you made a mistake. You said that they wouldn't miss me. And I called you on that. And you tried to backtrack. You can't even keep your story straight.
There you go.
And you keep contradicting yourself. One minute you're like, Mary, they're all annoyed at you. They don't want to hear from you. And the next minute, Mary, you don't talk to them enough. You just run out to the garden. What the hell?
You get it, girl.
Why are you doing that, huh? You want to explain? Just tell me why. Did you just back up?
Because you're stepping up. That's what you got to do. You have the power now. Keep with it. God, I'm investing. Can you do it? Serious. Don't let it hide. Fucking fight back. And please get some help. Get some medicine.
Where are you? Oh no.
She actually doesn't want to be in the garden. She's not looking to escape.
Oh, come on. I don't want to be here. What the fuck? God damn it. I don't want to be in the garden anymore. I get it now. I get it. Whoa, shit.
No, you chase it down. Yeah. When you step up to this kind of mentality, it gets scared of you. Just like then, call it out on its bullshit. You gotta see the world for what it is.
How the fuck did you get in here? I don't understand. You're in the house like the other ones. Look, answer me. You were in the house like the other ones. How the fuck did you get in here? You were here before. You were in that bridge. In that tunnel. What do you want? Come on. We're not done here.
It's gonna be a long day.
Okay, fine. I'm down here. You gonna talk to me? Or, I don't know, do something? Look, can you at least answer some questions? I don't know how, just, I don't know, blink once for yes and twice for no? Is that good? Is that a yes? Okay.
Yeah?
I feel like I could explode. It's not even raining. I swear to God. What the hell is that noise? Come on.
I mean, I can't even think where she would be in her psyche right now. Like, she wants to fight back, but it, like, trapped her in the quote unquote safe space.
I'm lost. It's the little fucker's fault.
Maybe, hopefully, it's self realization.
Come on! Why the fuck are we doing this? Why are we doing this? So I'm lost. I don't know where in the garden I am. I've never been here before. Nothing's familiar. Everything sucks, and I'm stuck here. I know this is a fucking dead end. There's very few paths. I feel like I'm just walking through the woods. No paths. Just wandering. I don't know where I am. And that little thing.
That was deer shit.
I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in the house anymore. I just want it to end. And now I know she's full of shit. But I'm stuck here and I can't do anything. That pisses me off.
all comes up at once.
Yeah?
Lose it. And either just shut down or do something stupid.
Depression and anxiety will do that.
I think that's what happened that night, isn't it? That's a yes. Big things happen when I lose it, huh? You didn't have to answer that. Jesus, fuck. Now you're being mean. But as that's been growing, so has this nagging feeling that all of this is very wrong. That it isn't normal. And I've been trying to ignore it and pretend like everything's fine, but I can't anymore. And now I don't even want to pretend. This sucks. And she's a fucking liar. There are people out there who care about me and want me to be okay, even when I tried to push them away and go hide. And I need help.
Self-realization. Very good.
I didn't want to say it, but I need help.
There you go. Exactly.
I can't do this by myself.
That is the main step you got to
How
take.
stubborn I am about it. Something is wrong. And I need help.
Good. Yes.
I think you might be able to help me.
Hmm.
You got in here after all. So, it can't be all that bad. What am I doing? No, fuck it. I'm gonna ask you one more question. It's another yes or no, don't worry. Will you help me? Nothing. No answer? You not answering anymore? Fine. Fuck you too. Find some other way. I'll do this shit myself. No. This is what I wanted. Make it stop.
You already know you need help. You already know you got it.
Mary, I'm right here. We're all here for you, Mary. Can you hear them? We've got you. Focus on my voice. You need to slow down your breathing. Deep breaths gradually. I know it's hard, but you can do it.
Coming down from an anxiety attack.
Thank you, I promise. You've got us now. Now in. Out. In. And out. That's right. Good work, Mary. I'm gonna pull you out now. Okay. I've got you. We've got you.
I'm back in the garden. okay now?
For now.
Thank you for helping me out of that.
It wasn't just me. I had a lot of help.
So I can hear you now and see them. You all broke through.
You broke through. We just helped. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to explain it as much as I can. You have a lot more power over this world than you know. You created it, Mary, albeit without realizing it. You can shape it and change it to suit your needs, even destroy it if you want to. You locked yourself in, and you alone have the ability to leave it.
It's your mind, yeah.
I wasn't sure of the plan, but after what just happened, I think I can guide you through it.
Wait, you're not gonna help me?
I can't. This has to be done by you. I and anyone else can only provide guidance. The first step is yours to take.
Okay, tell me what I need to do.
That entity you touched, the crawling darkness. It's tied to your more turbulent emotions.
The one that was whispered?
Correct. I can't quite pinpoint its motivations, but I've come to understand that it holds a significant amount of power, even more than me. You described it yourself. It gets inside you and grows, building every time you ignore it. And it comes out in these destructive ways you can't control, yes? It overtook you the day you arrived in that one October night. And today. This time, with a little help, you fought it and won. Right now, you have control over it.
Okay, but how is that gonna help me leave the house?
That power is still built up inside you. You've just pushed it back down temporarily. We're gonna need a lot of energy to open the door, and now that you have control over the darkness, I think you can redirect its power in a kind of controlled release.
Like a bomb?
Exactly.
Yeah, but how do I make it do that?
I know as little as you do on that end. We've never done this before, but I know you can do it. I'll help where I can, but remember, you have the power here. Now take the darkness and make it your own. Good luck, Mary. I'll see you very soon.
I mean, in a sense, yeah. You have to get control over it. That is a neat effect.
Hey. Mary. Did you miss me?
You got this. Yeah, girl. All in all, this is a really nice house, though. Yeah, except for, like, the benevolence. Damn right. This house is clean. There you go. Now she's realizing it. Get out of my head. I mean, like a bomb, right? Like a bomb. The little black ooze is going away.
Well done.
I do actually really like this house. This is a good design for a house. Well, that's good. It finally broke through that. It's literally just a fucking mind prison to her. It's her head. Get the fuck out. Now go get help.
Hey. Look who it is.
Rock friend? The door was open. Oh, please, give me a happy ending. I mean, baby steps. Baby steps. I was gonna say, get some conditioner in that hair, girl. cleaned up, got changed clothes. Get out the house. And Maria, or whatever her name, isn't showing up. Do people do that? Do they go in a walk-in closet, shut the door, and then, I'm assuming, then get their clothes? Why would you shut the door on yourself? Just leave the door open. Oh, that's the. I think that's the dress she was in when she was getting tormented. Nice boots.
It's gonna get easier. I promise.
So she's getting control of her life back.
I don't know if I did that right. If I made the right choice, or if this is a good or a bad ending for me. I don't feel like the same person I was yesterday.
She kind of got control of her anxiety and kind of embraced it, which I guess is the Shadow Man, if I remember right. Just kind of I know you're going to be there and we'll work this out.
It doesn't matter, though. The door is open. I'm not locked in anymore. And I have something I didn't have before, and it doesn't scare me like I thought it would. I'm not one for talking about myself. I think you all know that. But I think some thanks needs to be said. To all of you. You stayed with me even when I pushed you out and when I lost all faith in you. You didn't need to do that, but yet you did. I don't think any of you realized just how much that meant. You didn't even need to do anything you couldn't have. What could you have done that I would have even listened to? I wasn't listening to anyone. But you were there. And that meant worlds to me. You all broke through. And I can't thank you enough for that. She'll come back. I'm sure,
Yeah.
but
They do that.
could be as soon as tomorrow. It's not gonna be easy, but I'll be ready for her.
That's the mentality, exactly. It doesn't go
I'm
away.
not running away and hiding anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna fight back.
There you go.
Even if it's just a little bit.
Yep.
And if you're trapped in a house of your own too, and you come across this video, I want you to fight too. I'll be fighting right there with you. I'm going to look for help. I can't do this alone as much as I'd like to think I can.
There you go.
I don't know where I'll go, but I'm not giving up. There's still a lot of unknowns.
Well, usually to the doctor is the
For
first
now,
good place.
I'm gonna operate with what I do know. My name is Mary, and right now, I am alive. And I'm not alone. And neither are you.
I mean, I get it with the whole thing on her hand and everything. It's like you carry a part of it with you no matter what. And you do. But it's how you manipulate it. It's how you control it. So when those, the dark Mary or bad thoughts come back in, she has to basically push them down and basically go, nope.
Goodbye.
That's a way to end it. So as far as I'm seeing, I would say first music. Definitely. And she obviously hit it on the head at the end, pushed it through. It's mental illness. Boo me. And it's good that it seems like all the messages were good. I enjoyed that. You carry a part of it with you. That's the whole blackness. Even the black on her face at the end. I'm sure Pat probably has a theory where it's like, oh, the evil got her, blah, blah. And I think I may have seen it in the past, way back when. I've just never paid attention to it because I've never seen the series. But I would say that, no, this is her beating it. You got to embrace it. You got to realize that it's part of you and control it in a productive way, which is, her basically using it to fight against the dark Mary, whatever. And basically, the masked woman and put them away and basically be like, I'm done with it. Embrace your anxieties and understand how to cope with them. I mean, she told the black, Shadow Man, it'll get better. I promise, just a little bit at a time. That's good. And then she admits she needs to get help at the end. And that's the big freaking picture. I like that. I'm glad I went back and actually looked back into that one. That was a fun one to actually catch the ending to. So after reliving some traumatizing nightmares with the doll man, I think coming back to a good happy ending involving mental illness was a nice way to end it. If anyone's here, I think Benjamin just kind of jumped in, said hi and left, but that's okay. But if anyone's here and you enjoyed any of this, please feel free to follow. If you're seeing this on YouTube, go ahead and hit subscribe. That does help. I'm not sure when the next night I'll be on is. I would assume as of right now, how my schedule fits, I'll be back on Wednesday. Not sure what I'm doing yet. Next Friday is going to be the DLC to Devil May Cry. I'd like to be able to finish. That's the Virgil stuff. God, that was such a good game. Then should be, and then next Saturday will be the next set of spooks of some sort. I'll try to do another week of looking for stuff. And if I have time, I'll throw something else in the middle there. but it just matters when I get home and what I've got to do and everything. Mondays are extremely long days for me. So, all right, I'm gonna go look